I'm 98 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that might disturb you. Everything you think you know about war is completely wrong. And the worst part? The people who should be telling you this, your leaders, your media, your governments, they're either deceiving you or they've never seen what I've seen. You see, I spent 4 years of my youth in the deadliest conflict humanity has ever witnessed. I thought I understood what courage meant. I had the medals, the honors, the gratitude of my nation. But in 1944, something happened that destroyed everything I believed about glory and heroism. And what I witnessed in those years has completely transformed how I see humanity, hatred, and everything in between. But before I tell you what happened, I need you to understand something. The reason I'm recording this isn't to impress you or to make myself seem heroic. I'm doing this because I'm running out of time and there are truths you need to hear before it's too late. Not for me, for you. In the winter of 1944, I experienced what soldiers call hell on earth. That's the only way to describe Normandy's aftermath. I was just 19, marching through a French village, when suddenly the silence was shattered by artillery. The next thing I remember is lying in a crater surrounded by bodies and my best friend dying in my arms. The sergeant said we were victorious. I had just watched boys become corpses in seconds, and they called it victory. But you know what? They were lying, because lying in that crater with nothing but death around me, I realized something horrifying. I had been fed propaganda my entire life. War wasn't glorious. It was just organized murder. Young men killing young men, following orders from old men who never fire a single shot. And here's the part that haunts me to this day. If I had died that day, if that shrapnel had hit me instead of Thomas, what would it have been for? A piece of land, a political disagreement, a collection of ideologies that nobody would remember in 50 years. Let me tell you the biggest lie you're probably believing right now. War is necessary. It's the only solution. When diplomacy fails, violence is the answer. I see young people in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, and they're all saying the same thing. When they threaten us, we must respond. When they attack, we must retaliate. When honor is at stake, we must fight. When our nation calls, we must answer without question. Let me save you from unimaginable horror with one simple truth. Nobody wins a war. You know why? Because the costs keep multiplying. You win one battle, and suddenly there's another front. You defeat one enemy, and suddenly you've created 10 more. You're always fighting someone just across the border, and before you know it, millions are dead, and everyone's forgotten why it started. I did this. I spent 4 years believing I was fighting for freedom, only to realize when it ended that we had just created new enemies for the next generation. And you can't bring back the dead. History doesn't work that way. Here's something nobody tells you when you're young. Patriotism without questioning is dangerous. And I say this as someone who served everything I was told to serve. I stormed the beaches. I liberated towns. I had the respect of my commanders, and you know what? The nightmares never stopped. You survive a battle, and for about 48 hours you feel relief. Then the memories come. You're back to hell. Now there's another mission, another target, more killing. It's a meat grinder. I had a friend who survived until 1970, fought bravely through every major campaign, came home a decorated hero, never slept peacefully again, kept saying the faces would fade eventually. They never did. He took his own life at 47. At his funeral, his daughter said, "My father survived the war, but the war never left him. Is that the victory you want? Your trauma won't be about the battles you lost. It'll be about the humanity you destroyed. I don't lie awake at night thinking about military failures. Those don't matter. You know what keeps me up. The German soldier I killed who was probably just a scared kid like me. The village we destroyed that had innocent families inside. The orders I followed without questioning. The humanity I surrendered because someone told me to. These things eat at you. The faces of enemies who were just humans, the mothers who lost sons, the children who became orphans, the lives you ended because a flag told you to, the people you killed, someone's fathers, someone's brothers, someone's sons. You think they were monsters. They weren't. And one day that truth will haunt you. My enemy was a boy named Heinrich. We found his letters after I shot him. He was 18, loved poetry, missed his mother, kept thinking he'd go home when winter came. He never got that chance. Bullet through his chest within seconds. And you know what destroyed me? His last letter said he didn't understand why we were fighting. He said the American boys probably wanted to go home too. He said old men start wars, but young men die in them. He was right about everything. After the war, I made different choices. Refused to celebrate violence, started speaking about peace, started telling the truth about what I witnessed for decades. In these last 79 years, I've learned more about humanity than I did in those 4 years of combat. What matters is embarrassingly simple. Every human life has value. No ideology is worth mass murder. Talking is always better than killing. Understanding beats hatred. Choosing peace takes more courage than choosing war. I know it sounds naive. When I was your age, I would have called it weakness. Sure, but they attacked us first. And yes, sometimes they do. I'm not saying never defend yourself. I'm saying don't let leaders sacrifice your children for their egos. Here's a question I want you to ask yourself, and I want you to answer it honestly. If war started tomorrow, would you send your own children to die? Not would you wave a flag, not would you post online, just would you sacrifice your child? If the answer is no, then why would you support sending anyone else's children? What quarrel is so important that you're willing to gamble millions of precious lives on it? I'm 98 years old. I've been lucky enough to have good health since that war ended. But every morning when I wake up, I'm aware that I carry the dead with me. We all do, really. But most young people don't realize this. They think war is like movies. They think it's glorious. It isn't. I have great-grandchildren, 4 of them, and when I look at them, I see the same propaganda I see feeding most young people today. They're being told enemies are everywhere. They're being programmed to hate. They're being prepared for conflicts that benefit only the powerful. They're falling for the same lies I fell for. And I try to tell them. I try to share what I witnessed. But you know what? They don't fully understand. Not because they're foolish, but because they can't. They're living in comfort right now. They can't imagine the horror yet. They think their situation is different. That modern war would be cleaner somehow. That's why I'm recording this. Because maybe, just maybe, if enough people hear this message, someone will actually resist. Someone will question the propaganda. Someone will refuse to let World War III become reality like it haunts people like me. Every single day. You're being pushed toward conflict. Nobody likes to acknowledge this. But tensions are rising everywhere. The same patterns are emerging. Your leaders, if they're still reckless, they're drumming up hatred every day. One day, probably sooner than you think, it could explode. Your friends, your spouse, your children, none of them would survive a nuclear war. So what are you going to do? Keep believing the propaganda? Keep dehumanizing the other side? Keep telling yourself it won't happen here? Or are you going to wake up today and start demanding peace like your life depends on it? Because it does. If I could go back and talk to my 18-year-old self, here's what I would say. Stop believing everything your government tells you. Stop thinking enemies are less human than you. Stop letting hatred feel like strength. Stop following orders that violate your conscience. Start questioning why young men must die for old men's disputes. Start seeing enemies as someone's children, too. Start demanding diplomacy before destruction. Start refusing to celebrate violence as heroism. Start choosing understanding over blind patriotism. And most importantly, start now. Not after the first bombs drop. Not after your children are drafted, not when it's too late. Now, because I promise you, once war begins, the time for prevention has passed. Conflict will always seem justified and necessary and full of righteous anger. But if you accept it, you'll wake up one day, surrounded by graves, wondering why you didn't resist. I'm 98. If I'm lucky, maybe 2 or 3 more years. Maybe 5 if blessed. Probably less. And I'm okay with that, because these last 79 years have been spent trying to prevent what I survived. Not because I want recognition. Because I've finally understood that peace requires courage, that questioning takes strength, that loving your enemy is the bravest act possible. I've spoken at memorials around the world, forgiven soldiers who were once my enemies, hugged German veterans who cried with me, told the truth countless times. I'm more at peace now at 98, having faced death, than I was at 18 when I thought killing made me a man. That's the tragedy. When you understand war's true cost, you start to actually value life. You stop glorifying violence. You stop believing propaganda. You start demanding better from your leaders. You have a choice right now, today. Keep consuming hatred, accepting war as inevitable, letting history repeat its worst chapters, or wake up. Realize that World War III would end civilization as you know it, and the peace you take for granted must be protected now. I can't make this choice for you, but I can tell you, you don't want to be 98 looking back at ruins wishing you had spoken up. Don't wait until millions die figuring this out. Learn from my nightmares. Choose peace actively. Demand diplomacy fiercely. Stop accepting war as normal. Normal should be children growing old. It always should have been. If this resonates, share this video. Leave a comment. Tell me what you're going to do differently. Subscribe, because I have more truths to share and not much time left. The clock is ticking toward midnight. What are you going to do with your voice?